Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, aka the Blue Blur, aka Blue Justice, and I am from the likes of the Maxi Toys videos, as you probably expect at this point in time. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more Let's Play of Sonic Frontiers for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X/S, PC Steam, and of course the Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we've essentially managed able to continue exploring the forms of Chaos Island to do not only just trying to find some more side stories, but also about the fact that we did somehow manage to meet up with Big the Cat once again to do some more fishing and stuff like that. In addition to that, we also did manage to tackle through what without a doubt is the most infamous challenge in the entire game, for some people anyway, which appears to be by the forms of something related to the pinball. So as a result, it only took me about 3 attempts, strangely enough. So as a result, I'm a pinball wizard after all. Even though it's a shame about the fact that I just wish if I was able to try to do it on my first attempt on the PS4 version. But I suppose it really doesn't matter because I've already managed to did that not only on the Nintendo Switch version but on the Xbox One version as well. So, well technically with Series X if you want to count that as the forms of, you know, one of those. It's hard to explain really, because it's been like 2 days ago since I actually managed to get back into this game. So, and relatively speaking about the fact that today for this video is about the fact that we can exponentially able to wrap things up everything in terms of the rest of the forms of Chaos Island. So hopefully, without further ado, first off, we need to grab some more memory tokens because as you can tell, we've now bumped into the forms of stage once again. So as a result, we can pretty much guarantee we can to unlock the next side story. Now, exponentially speaking though about the fact that when it comes to the forms of the later uploading schedules in mind for this game, I just want to classify for something is about the fact that once we finish up with the forms of the 4th island coming up, I'm also able to actually decide to come back into this at some point on next Monday, because as a result of that kind of stuff though, not only just trying to actually get my software update, as in like, you know what I mean, where you get like free DLC update 2, as well as the forms of about the fact that you notice about the fact that since that Sonic Origins Plus has almost came out during about almost a week ago, so I figure I'm also able to actually upload the forms of the special video coming up by the end of June, just to end things off on a high note before we move on to the second half of the year. So that's what I was expecting for the sake of time. So either way though, let's go ahead and place a marker right there, so just in case I don't get lost track of myself, able to actually just try to find Sage as the next side story and stuff like that. So yeah, because a few things I want to explain for this point today, and that is that today's date, of course, there is the 28th of June today, in this case in 2023 today, and it looks like we've only just got roughly about 3 days left now, and to be more specifically, we're going on to the second half of the year, or in some cases, in the beginning of July, the 7th month in 2023. So we get ourselves some high expectations about the forms of next month, to be more specifically with Pikmin 4 is about to be slowly approaching onto its public release, alongside with the forms of the UK version of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, for not only on DVD, but also on Blu-ray, and especially noticeable with the 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray versions as well. So even then though, I actually get my high expectations, even though nothing compared to the forms of how it does it for the likes of October most likely, and same applies to November as well, because still, I'm looking forward to actually just to experience the next WarioWare game, as well as the remake of Super Mario RPG after all. So either way, now I think we've got enough. Oh shoot, we still haven't got enough memory tokens. Oh jeez. Sometimes though, getting these memory tokens can be felt a bit cumbersome at points if you're trying to continuously exploring through certain parts of certain islands, although there's actually an easier way you can to grind some more of those memory tokens as you wanted to, like, you know what I mean, with the actual big fishing. But aside from all that stuff though, I really wish if I was originally trying to do that, but I was a bit too late for that. So, and exponentially speaking though, is about the fact that maybe potentially speaking also, that we're about to get ourselves the 7th and the final Chaos Emerald during the course of being Chaos Island. In addition to that, like I said before, we're about to take on the 4th island in the game once we completely finish up with the rest of Chaos Island.
coming up on the last Titan. Care to bet who'll be the winner this time?
Recalculating. Your odds of victory have improved from impossible to highly improbable.
Those are just the kind of odds I like to beat. So these were built by the Ancients too, right? They're pretty powerful enemies. Did they manage to defeat the Ancients' enemies?
I can only hope their next victim is you.
And I think for the most part, we have basically done with every single side stories in Journey Forms of Chaos Island. And it's a good thing too about the fact that since I did manage to able to grind myself some more rings, so just in case we were able to get enough, so that way we'll get ourselves the 7th and the final Chaos Emerald for the 3rd time. So from here, we can able to take on the Night Titan. Yeah, that's what its name is, actually called Night. So, pretty weird, but hey, at least that's something, I suppose. So anyways, in this beginning portion right there, you need to dodge a lot of the spikes that he somehow created, because otherwise, if you dare touch the spikes, holy macaroni, they will hit you hard. Especially noticeable because still we're on hard mode, of course. So relatively speaking, you have to able to avoid those spikes well enough. Then once you're able to get onto the rail grinding right there, basically similar to the forms of how it does it on Giga Anto, from the sake of the forms of Kronos Island, is that you need to able to climb all the way up to the top of the actual Titan itself, specifically Night in some cases in this particular island, as you can tell, and basically you can able to obtain the 7th and the final Chaos Emerald, like I said before, for the 3rd time so far. So relatively speaking, we can able to actually get into the proper fight against with the Night Titan. And I will say, this is probably my 2nd favorite fight, or generally speaking, it's probably one of my 3rd favorite Titan boss fight in particular, because as you can see about the fact that every time when if you manage to realize about the fact that Knight does manage to have 2 weapons for his disposal, which there are the sword as well as the shield. Now the shield part will come in handy, especially noticeable because concerning about that particular point, as you can see, that we already deal with the amount of damage to him or immediately. So even then though, because chances are though, usually relatively speaking, the arena itself is also pretty small as well, even though sometimes he loves to move around all over the place, and I for some reason just keep on failing the actual praying part. But that's okay, because we can simply just keep on trying as much as we can. So relatively speaking, everything else will be pretty much expected at this point in time. So of course, about the fact that we still need to able to, block and all the other jazz. So, but either way, that's saying something. So, oh jeez. And yeah, that's what the actual shield thing comes into play. So basically about the fact that as soon as you're able to do a the actual button quick time reaction right there, or quick time event, and then basically you can able to hop onto the actual spinning shield, and basically what we can do with it is that we need to guide the actual spinning shield right back in the forms of that Night Titan, because otherwise you can able to deal with the amount of damage to the forms of Night himself. And relatively speaking about the fact that it is pretty satisfying when if you manage to able to deal with the amount of damage to him in the process. So, but usually relatively speaking, that's not much else to this particular boss fight as far as this is concerned. So either way, so I'm pretty certain about the fact that I'm pretty sure he's now onto the halfway point in terms of the actual health meter as far as when he does manage to contain. So, but I digress. So there's another thing I should probably explain about this as well, I guess. It's about the fact that recently, CapKing74, he's now recently finished up with the forms of Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, to be more specifically in the main story campaign. Well, I suppose the only thing it does matters to him, though, every now and then, is that he's now going to be working on side quests and all that stuff, before he's able to actually finish up everything in terms of Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door. And relatively speaking though, he's almost done with the forms of the classic Paper Mario games, and exponentially speaking, I don't think it's possible for him to able to actually tackle for the modern Paper Mario games, because I'm sure enough that most people seem to don't really care about modern Paper Mario games anymore. Although, don't get me wrong, I still enjoy the, well, let's just say, the Origami King, because it's almost like an open world Paper Mario game. But aside from all that stuff though, it's just the actual combat system feels a bit of a mixed bag in my opinion. So, as you can see, we now moved on to the next phase of the Knight Titan fight. And as you can see, we need to able to like guide the actual spinning shield once again, except the fact that the spinning shield just goes all over the place. But as soon as you do a praying, basically you have to able to get you have to able to directly try to aim right at the knight, so just in case you can able to deal the amount of damage to him again. So relatively speaking when you get the hang of it though, it's actually not too shabby for the most part. So again, I apologize for my commentary is a little bit awkward at this point today, because I mean, let's face it, we've already explained a lot of stuff ever since about a week ago. And seriously, kind of think about it, it's been about a week ago since this very, very good Nintendo Direct presentation takes place. Especially noticeable because, you know, a lot of hype levels has gone ridiculously high. Especially noticeable we finally got, you know, a brand new 2D Mario game. And especially noticeable with the forms of the new remake. And especially noticeable that seems to be the case. Especially concerning about that particular point where we finally got back on track when it comes to game releases during the forms of in 2023 for Nintendo's case, and especially noticeable about the fact that, well, I'm very surprised about the fact that we're actually getting some more stuff in 2024, especially because, you know, so far we've only got 2 upcoming games for the Nintendo Switch in 2024 so far, but that'll be discussion for later time. So either way, and I'm pretty sure about the fact that, oh, we still need to do some quick time events, such as for instance, we need to, I think something tells me we need to able to utilize the actual sword right there. Although, kind of think about it though, I do also, oh I need to do a button mashing here. Alright, there we go. So either way, and as soon as you're done with that, I presumably that we are basically done with this fight, because after all, we'll see that particular cinematic cutscene right there to see how Supersonic is fully capable of the forms of trying to able to dodge a lot of his attacks, and especially noticeable with this little fist punch, and oh jeez, that sword is quite massive. So I wonder what Supersonic is trying to do for this point. Oh, a side loop right there with that particular sword that he's about to able to utilize with. Now I think something tells me he's probably going to use it able to finish him off. Yeah, speaking of such, he's using it. So, and there goes Knight. Cut him in half. I'm not exactly sure what the theme song is actually called, because even then it's been a very long while since I actually listened to certain soundtrack albums for Sonic Frontiers, but either way, let me know in the comments down below. So there we go, Chaos Island is completed. So now we can move on to the 4th island in the game. Now, unlike the forms of how it does it on the previous 3 islands that we've somehow already explored, that basically we actually did quite a number of things during that specific period, whilst in the forms of the 4th island that we're about to get into right now, I don't think there's that much content on the 4th island, so maybe there's a possibility that we might able to do something for the 4th island potentially.
The final lock has been revealed. Silence the 6 towers. Tear down the walls between dimensions.
Oh, good. I thought you were gonna say there was a surprise, Titan.
Sonic?
Hang tight, partner. We're almost through this.
Be careful.
Careful. Where's the fun in that?
So with that being said, in this particular island's case, there's only one story objective we can able to do, and that is about the fact that we need to shut down not only one tower, but also with the forms of 6 towers potentially. And there are some musical notes that we can able to obtain as well, but I think I should probably save that for later, because as far as I'm aware, as I said before about the fact that there's not much side stories to obtain in this particular place. So yeah, it's only like one story mission objective right there, and that is about the fact that we need to climb all the way up to the top, not once but 6 times. So relatively speaking though about the fact that, now for what I've heard about the fact that thanks to the recent update version of Sonic Frontiers, that if you do manage able to experience this particular mission objective on easy difficulty setting, I'm pretty sure it might actually feel tamed for some capacity. Mind you, I still haven't experienced the easy level in during forms of Sonic Frontiers, because I mean, let's face it, I'm just pretty much okay without doing easy mode, because hard mode and, exponentially speaking, maybe occasionally normal mode might do it for me. Although, mind you about the fact that, again, I'll get into my biggest gripe I have with this game until whenever we get to the finale portion of this particular playthrough, or something relates to that, depending on the forms of our fact that we're still hoping to get free DLC Update 3, once that's going to be releasing by the end of the forms of this particular year coming up, alongside with the forms of Mario Plus Rapid Sparks of Hope, Rayman DLC potentially. So yeah, basically about the fact that we need to go for a serious amount of obstacles, as you can see, and then once you're able to make your way to the top, basically you can able to shut down one of the towers. And I believe every time whenever you do manage to shut down one of those towers, I'm gonna assure you one of the cutscenes will able to trigger. So, but either way though, sometimes though, it is so ridiculously tall that we need to able to climb all the way up to, because as far as I'm aware, this is what the actual difficulty starts to able to get to the point where if you accidentally dare fall off all the way to the very bottom of this particular tower, basically does about the fact that, well, I'll explain more details about this, because as you can tell, we've managed able to shut down the first tower in the forms of, I would say this island is called Rhea Island, I think it was, although I'm not exactly 100% sure. Now, as far as the another topic I would like to point things out is about the fact that recently, during the course of the past few days ago, that recently we've actually got ourselves a final release date for the sake of the forms of the upcoming party game made by the forms of the same developers who made Garfield Lasagna Party or something like that. Not what appears to be by the forms of Inspector Gadget Mad Time Party, and I think that particular game is about to be released about a week after the physical version of not only Pikmin 1, but also Pikmin 2 as well, both on the Nintendo Switch. So it's expected to be releasing on the 29th of September in 2023 for that particular game, as I mentioned earlier. And I'm probably gonna give it a pass, especially noticeable I'm gonna save up for the Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and especially noticeable with the forms of course, WarioWare Move It, and of course, Super Mario RPG for the Nintendo Switch. So, but either way though, that must have been said something. So, now as far as what I've heard, that a lot of people attempt to do the forms of our Let's Play of Super Mario RPG on the original version, just before when the Switch remake is about to able to make its release. So, possibly it might be a perfect timing for able to actually do that particular playthrough before the Switch remake will come to its fruition. So, that'll be pretty amazing, all things considered, especially noticeable because everyone else hasn't experienced the original Super Nintendo version for quite some time. For those of you who haven't missed out on the forms of not only on the Wii Virtual Console version, but also on the Wii U Virtual Console re-release version. I'm not exactly sure about the new 3DS Virtual Console re-release version, just because it's been about quite a few days ago since I've last played my new 3DS, because I was been busy playing through Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance on the standard difficulty, but still.
cyber corruption is accelerating. How can you smile when you can barely stand?
Jeez, I get the horrible feeling about this is about the fact that eventually, as soon as we're able to shut down every single towers in this particular island, that I believe about the fact that we'll come across into a new form for Sonic himself. To be more specifically, he's almost gonna get corrupted at one form or another, or any second or two. So, anyway, so speaking of such though, we've only got 4 towers left, and then exponentially, that pretty much takes care of the forms of the majority of this island. Again, it's super duper short, especially noticeable because again, there aren't any content around here, aside from the forms of some more music notes to obtain, most notably based off from the likes of the past music from the past Sonic games. So, yeah, that must have been said something, so... But I digress. So, there's another thing I should probably also forgot to mention about this as well. It's been about 2 years ago since when Mario Golf Super Rush has first came out for the Nintendo Switch. Despite the fact that looking back in it right now, I can see why about the fact that a lot of people got a lot of disappointment out of it, especially noticeable after that huge success of the Mario Golf World Tour on the 3DS, because about the fact that with the stupid free DLC content available at certain times and all that stuff though, which obviously continues that tradition until when Mario Strikers Battle League Football was a thing. That obviously contains some of the worst free update system in the entirety of certain Nintendo Switch stuff for this existence. But either way though, and also some people complain about the fact that there's no Diddy Kong to be found during the course of a Mario Golf Super Rush, or no Bodo to be playable either. So as a result of that kind of stuff though, it feels like that Mario Golf Super Rush is now onto the okay catalog for me. Although I do still enjoy it, don't get me wrong, it's just about the fact that with the lack of playable characters, and especially noticeable that it's so disappointing to me though that, well, aside from the fact that at the very least we are still able to go ourselves New Donk City, as well as the forms of Mario Star environment based off in the good old days of Mario Golf. But aside from all that stuff, though, there's no too many Mario fanfare for the sake of the forms of that particular course and stuff like that. Even though it's a bit tricky to explain because it's been about, as I said, been 2 days ago since I've last played this. Especially noticeable because, relatively speaking, by that time until on Thursday coming up, potentially speaking, Pac-Man is going to be able to finish up everything for the sake of the forms of Pac-Man World Repack before we move on to the next couple of Let's Plays and beyond. So we can potentially about the fact that I don't think this Let's Play is going to be finished anytime soon, because not only because we still got a whole lot of content to show off, but also thanks to the forms of free update DLC, that also means about the fact that we can show off some plentiful of content during that specific time. So we're not exactly sure when does this Let's Play will be finished by then, so time will tell, especially noticeable because concerning we're still on June after all. So relatively speaking though, like I said before about the fact that by that time until specifically this coming Friday, I don't think there won't be any uploading schedules on this for the time being until by the beginning of July, because something tells me about the fact I need to do some bit of a cool solutions I can possibly think about. Well, mind you, it's a bit tricky to explain. Although speaking of which though, it's about the fact that recently we somehow managed able to get not one, but 2 new items that we actually got for ourselves today. That's what appears to be both a new game, or technically speaking an old game for some considerable time, as well as from that, a new accessory from our Wii U. To be more specifically, just to feel like a little bit more easy to able to manage the actual setup. Like for instance, about the fact that when it comes to a new game we've got, somehow we got ourselves the 3rd version of Pac-Man World 3 to match the actual number to able to represent Pac-Man World 3. So now we've actually got ourselves the OG Xbox version of Pac-Man World 3. No idea why I've somehow got that, but just to ensure that I always enjoy the Pac-Man World series.
Chaos Gem Joy can do? It is frustrating you create his choice. Joy Muri Yugashiro.
Which is especially noticeable about the fact I still prefer classic design of Pac-Man as opposed to the forms of the modern one, because still, I'm not a big fan of the forms of the actual redesign of Pac-Man, as I've already on about it multiple times already. Now, I was expecting to also get the PSP version at some point in the future, but at this point in time, I think 3 might be enough. Like, 3 versions is quite enough for me. Especially noticeable for what I've heard about the fact that the handheld versions of Pac-Man World 3, both on the PSP and the DS version, god, the DS version is considerably the worst version of the bunch. That's just because of the forms of multiple glitches, and especially noticeable about the fact that there's a lot of, like, cool visuals here and there on the DS version, so I'm not exactly sure if the DS version does have touchscreen controls on that particular version, because I haven't exactly seen the DS version for quite some time, especially noticeable because usually, relatively speaking, I still prefer the console versions at any day, so relatively speaking, no, there's not much right to home about. So, but either way though, and also for I've heard that the PSP version might feel a bit like a mediocre version of the game, just because what I've heard about the fact that the actual frame rate is a lot more worse than the forms of how it does it on the console versions, what I've heard, or technically speaking if you want to include the PC version as well. So relatively speaking though about the fact that I am perfectly happy to able to have not only the GameCube version of Pac-Man World 3, but also the PS2 version that we've already tackled for a Let's Play of the game back in 2021. So it's been like almost like 2 years ago since we've last tackled through Pac-Man World 3, so as a result of that kind of stuff though, it's a shame about the fact that there's no Pac-Man World 4, because obviously we just got replaced by the forms that, you know, a pretty bad redesign of Pac-Man himself. So relatively speaking, you know, everything else seems to be the case as a matter of fact. So, but I digress. Oh yeah, we actually stumbled across into this new type of enemy right here, and that's something to do with about the fact that he got a lot of water inside of him. So basically, in order to able to break out of this particular enemy, as you can tell, basically that's what the stomp ability comes into play. Because if you stomp at the right time, basically you can able to stomp him for about 3 times consecutively, so just to ensure that you won't be able to drown inside him, because obviously if you get inside him, basically what happens is that the oxygen meter exists. So relatively speaking though, that's as far as I can say about it, and unfortunately I did somehow screwed up on this particular segment right there. And that's what the point about the fact that, as you can see, we can able to actually continue our progress. So even then, we don't have to worry about just trying to able to start all over again. So, but either way though, that at the very least for this particular tower, as we're going to be hitting into right now, is super generous, alongside with the forms of the last 2 towers coming up. So, but either way though, chances are, it can take a bit while to able to complete this most of the time, mainly because of the forms of sometimes your momentum gets a bit screwed up, like right here. So as a result, unfortunately though, I somehow managed to accidentally manage to get fluked off, thanks to the forms of the actual boosting and stuff like that. So either way though, that's probably my fault, but that's okay, because hopefully we'll try to able to come across into yet another of one of those hangar stuff, like as you can see one right there. But it seems about the fact that I've no idea what I was expecting to do for this point. So unless if I was trying to find that one right there, and we can able to get onto another one nearby, so we can potentially don't lose our progress right here, and exponentially we don't have to worry about that particular enemy again, so just in case we can able to actually continue where we left off. So, but I digress. So, exponentially speaking though, I think that's as far as I can talk about this. Although aside from the fact that there's another item I've got during the forms of just recently, and that's what appears to be an accessory for the Wii U. Well, nothing groundbreaking, it's just about the fact that I somehow stumbled across into myself the vertical stand of the Wii U console itself. Because the reason being for this is because, well, at this point in time, I think I basically just moved on to the vertical position for my Wii U game console system, just because I don't want to get too much dust on top of the actual Wii U system itself.
Mule to dream, to lose. Mura skewing, Shura. Kulail axe lose. Mashura, is good. Daidu, Zaidurid, and Garish. Wish idea.
I believe I have come to understand you. Both of us will do anything to protect those who are precious to us. But your fate... it is what I calculated. Farewell, hero.
By the way, every time when Sonic activates something, it doesn't matter if it's either the cyberspace transporters, and especially noticeable with the actual minigame challenges or something like that, as you saw, from the likes of the Chaos Island, and especially noticeable, as you can tell, that we recently shutting down all of these towers, as you can tell. It does kind of reminds me of the forms of the equivalent to when Link also utilizes his hand, except the fact that he's using the forms of the Ultra Hand, so just to ensure he can able to scan certain things, including treasure chests, and especially noticeable if you manage to complete one of those shrines in particular, then obviously that might be seems the case. So, but I digress. Oh yeah, speaking of which though, is about the fact that there's one thing that both Mario and Luigi have both forgot to mention about. During the course of the forms of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Amiibo selection is going to be on its way. Both Zelda and Ganondorf, essentially. Basically, the actual release date for both of those Amiibos will be confirmed, is expected to be releasing at some point by the end of 2023. It doesn't matter if it's either like, I would say in December most likely, that could be a perfect timing for that, for, you know, the holiday season or something like that. So, but either way though, because chances are that still, the actual poses for not only for Zelda, but also for Ganondorf as well, are pretty cool in any regard, especially noticeable concerning about the fact that, well, you know, just trying to replicate the actual poses for the actual official artwork for the sake of the forms of the actual The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom game itself. So, but either way, that must have been saying something, I suppose. So, anyway, so we got 2 towers left now, so exponentially that is when about the fact that going for the last 2 towers might felt a bit tricky at first glance. So, although then again, I was expecting to try to able to aim for musical notes on this particular island, but then again, we will be back for that. Assuming, of course, that the only cool thing about this is, though, is that basically you can able to replay or just go back into this particular island at any time. So either way, at least you're not missing out, or potentially speaking about the fact that you're not going to miss out on the forms of those musical notes collecting. But then again though, there's not much else to it for this island. So, and once we're done with the forms of this island completely, then basically I can assure to you we're most able to head over to the final island in the game. So something tells me about the fact that, as I said before, we're getting very close towards the end of the main story campaign of Sonic Frontiers. Well, assuming, of course, about the fact that if you really want to go after multiple things, like to be more specifically with the forms of that particular, more collectibles to be found, not only for the sake of the forms of those memory tokens that we still need to obtain, but also about the fact that we can able to find some more side stories to able to presumably try to obtain as well, and exponentially with the forms of the brand new collectibles we can able to discover for, again, assuming of course if I was trying to able to update my version update for Sonic Frontiers, just to ensure about the fact that we can able to get this thing sorted before we move on to the next part. So, but yeah, you get the idea for this point. So, oh jeez. always have to be super, like, precise on this part, because again, if you mess up at one point, then you have to start all over again, so... Alright, so let's get out of this enemy right here, so we can able to go for these multiple rainbow rings, and exponentially we can able to shut down the 5th tower, and I believe we've only got 1 tower left, and presumably that pretty much does it for the majority of the forms of this. Forgive me about my mispronunciation of this island's name, Rhea Island, I think it was.
Chaos Gem Join Garkin Gwine debut, Hyurain Tai. In the blue, Dwayne Slake by Chaos, Toru Zain Shuaiste. What should you? Minga Jure.
But then again, forgive me if I somehow managed able to bodge the name for the sake of the forms of this island. So yeah, I do apologize for that. So anyway, so let's go ahead and go into the final tower in this entire island, and basically about the fact I get the strong sense of feeling once we you know, finish up the final tower, then something bad is about to happen, for Sonic's case anyway, so... And exponentially speaking though about the fact that, well, again, we'll find out during that specific time, so... Anyways though, so I just really love utilizing the drop dash, as you can tell, so basically about the fact that I can able to go up to the actual slopes and such, so... But either way, let's just go ahead and continue things on here, and looks like it's now nighttime, so... Yeah, we can pretty much expect the fact that we're able to stumble across into the next couple of cutscenes later, for the sake of the forms of how the fact that, well, again, it's a bit weird about the fact that since that we are still wearing the actual costume based off the Monster Hunter series, that basically is about the fact that, well, every time when Sonic is almost about to change for its form, or anything else to be more specifically, basically it's about the fact that, and as you can see, I accidentally died right there, mainly because I did somehow accidentally got fluked off. But that's okay, because thankfully with that particular handlebar thing we can able to hop onto. Seriously, those segments can be pretty tricky at times, especially noticeable about the fact that if you're not too precise on any of the, like, platforming and what have you, then basically that you will attempt to able to fall off a lot if you're not paying attention to the actual obstacles. So, I think something tells me about the fact that this could be, reminds me of something related to the forms of, you know, the actual free DLC thing just came out recently by the forms of new Cocos, which as a result, I will try to able to explain more details about that once we get into the forms of the beginning portion of July. So as a result, yeah, presumably on the 3rd of July most likely. So because of this though, yeah, let's just go and continue things on here, and just gonna have to do some last few homing attack chains, go into these dash panels, and exponentially about the fact that we're just gonna have to able to make sure we don't fall off in the highest height. So, but I digress. I suppose there's a last thing I should probably mention about this point today, despite it's a bit random, but as a result, one of those new films is about to be releasing at some point in June films of next month, potentially. That's what appears to be Zoe 102, specifically Zoe 102, and basically that particular film is going to be releasing at some point on Paramount Plus as an exclusive movie as far as I'm aware, and that's going to be releasing at some point on the 27th of July. Again, it's a bit random to say this, but that's just because I just want to classify for that particular notification news update or anything else to be more specific. So, anyway, so we've become electricity again, despite the fact that we actually did make our way to the very top of the final tower in the entirety of Rhea Island, and that's pretty much about it. So either way, chances are the 4th island is done. I don't think there's actually a trophy or the achievement for this, because as I said before, this is without a doubt the shortest island, so...
Joyce, Masulay, Nueve Mule.
Jeez, feels like I just got corrupted. So that is when about the fact, as I mentioned this briefly, that we somehow become corrupted Sonic. So because of this though, yeah, there's nothing we can do at this point, aside from the fact that we'll let the cutscene plays out. And exponentially, I think we pretty much get into the final island in the game, but then again, we don't feel like we've got enough time for exploring for the 5th and final island, so...
Sonic, no!
What happened to him?
He took on so much cyber energy, it corrupted him.
Meaning?
He's stuck between realities.
My only regret is you denied me the pleasure of finishing you off, rodent.
We must get you back into cyberspace immediately.
I just got out! That was the whole point!
I ran millions of simulations. The only way I can keep you alive is if you're not here when it gets out.
When what gets out?
Since time immemorial, I have languished here. The locks are broken. Now I shall tear down the walls between dimensions and consume all.
No, no you don't. I'll mobilize the egg fleet and blow you out of the sky.
It won't be enough. It triumphed over the Ancients' technology. My simulations show a success rate of 0%.
No. Sonic worked too hard for us to give up now. Those visions we saw, we can drive back the corruption and bring him back. Anything for Sonic.
Whatever it takes.
Sonic, I want you to see the hero I become. Sonic, you still have love to share with this world too.
Sonic, we're even after this. Ha! Everyone, thank you. I won't let you down.
Oh, good. He's back.
This is our chance. I never simulated a scenario where Sonic helped, since you never authorized it.
I still don't want to.
Please.
Sonic, I hereby induct you into the Eggman Empire and order you to save us all. Understand? This is not an alliance.
If that's how you want to spin it, Dr. Ego Man.
Sage, you will help me find the Chaos Emeralds. Sonic won't be fast enough.
Hey, wow!
As you command.
Well, it doesn't take that long to able to actually fully get recovered from the likes of getting corrupted by the forms of whatever they're supposed to be. So either way though, that's pretty much about it. So here we are into Rhea Island Part 2. Or to be more specifically, it does have its name by the way, but then again I'll explain more details about that and during at some point until on the beginning portion of July, like I said before. So with that said, we got the endings of this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Sonic Frontiers. It's that we're about to be experiencing the 5th island. So I'll see you guys until on next Monday. Later, fellas.